All right, guys. All right, guys. As we say, we want to welcome you again to this episode of the Merge podcast. I am your host, Jayden, and this is...
I'm Kareina, and we would be discussing money and power in relationships this evening.
Yes, yes. You have to stick around with us this evening because coming in the program, we are going to speak about what to do if your woman is making more money than you. And yes. So we want to encourage everyone to share the link and be friendly with the buttons and just engage with us in the comment section as we grow this community together.
And we are looking out especially tonight for Jassy.
Yes.
Now, Jassy was commenting very avidly in the last chat. He was saying, he's a high value man. He subscribes to all those attributes. And we are looking for him. Jassy, we are putting out an APB on you this evening.
Yes. As I was saying before, just like Redman, they couldn't find Redman. We can't find Jassy. Somebody call up Jassy if you have his number. Jassy said in our last video, Jassy actually said, when we are describing how to find a high value man, and we're describing what a high value man looks like, Jassy said in the comments that we're describing him.
Oh, yes.
You see, basically, you're describing me. All right? So I don't know Jassy's marital status, but let me behave myself here now. But Jassy, we're looking out for Jassy, and all of you who regularly comment and just a part of the community with us, we're really happy to have you. Keisha Peters, it's a blessing to have you on. Cleon Richardson.
We have Sabrina Nichols, Vanessa De Gans, and Dominic Jones. Maybe he might be related to somebody on the panel this evening.
Yes.
They share the same last name.
So Dominic kind of real biased. Dominic jumped on the platform very early tonight, suspiciously early on the platform tonight. So again, welcome. I don't know, Domoso? 01, happy Sabbath.
I know who's that, but
who do you think that is?
I feel that's a Christiana.
Oh, all the way from Tobago.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to shout out where you're from, we understand that we have viewers from all over the world. We have viewers from the United States of America, from Canada. You just want to shout out where you're from. You might be from Arima, Brazil, Toco, San Susi, San Fernando.
Yes.
We have Brazil in the house. We have also Piti Valley in the house, and so you can shout out where you're from, where you're hailing
from.
from.
In the house, of course.
Oh yes, hey, Pastor Roger Edwards, happy Sabbath. Yes, Pastor Roger, happy Sabbath, Pastor. Yeah. So we're gonna get into our topic this evening in a short bit.
Before we do, we have two lovely guests with us here. They didn't just come for their good looks, huh? They came because they wanted to weigh in on this power-packed topic. So I would like to introduce firstly the lovely lady, Sister Renee Joseph, this evening. She's a lady who loves the Lord.
Amen.
Can I get an amen for the amen in the chat? She hails from the Brazil Estate Church in Trinidad and Tobago, and she has been an attorney at law for approximately 12 years, and she loves youth work. Her entire life has been dedicated to youth work.
No.
And
forgive me for interjecting here. That was a really nice introduction. You don't need to introduce Renee by saying she loves youth work to know that she loves youth work. I think we can all agree that when you say youth work, Trinidad and Tobago, Renee is ubiquitous.
Yes, and she also hosts the AY Online, which recently celebrated their 5-year birthday.
Put your hands together for the AY Online.
So,
beautiful.
Thank you so much. And joining Renee on this podcast, we have Mr. Brother Brian Jones. Now, Brian Jones is the elder at the Laventil Church, or as we fondly know it, the Laventil Church. And also, he is dedicated to Christian ministry, specifically with emphasis in that of charity, and he is a retired VP of marketing and insurance, and he has 4 professional degrees. Don't think that you're watching Brother Jones here slight, and you try to keep up with the Joneses, and you understand. So, we are so happy to have we are happy to have our wonderful guest this evening, and we can't wait to bite in to this topic.
Yes, welcome.
Thank you very much.
You all have anything to say? Just opening statements, greet our audience, get comfortable with them.
Well, it's really wonderful to be here, Jayden and Kareina, to be contributing to this topic this evening. It's definitely a spicy, juicy topic, and I know that we are delighted to share. I am sitting here to learn because Uncle Brian,
Renee, I object, Your Honor. I object. Renee is not sitting here to learn, guys. Let me tell you all something. If it is anybody who knows about money and power in relationships, is an attorney at law who's seen divorces happen and who's have to stand directly in the middle of dividing of assets and these types of things. Yes. So definitely, she's a heavy hitter on the platform this evening.
She's trying to beat me.
But you want the pedestal, but
I am very happy to be here. It's a very serious topic, but we'll keep it light because the dynamics of money and marriages and relationship has changed drastically. So I'm looking forward to addressing that tonight.
Beautiful. So without further ado, we're not going to keep our viewers waiting. Remember to share the link. We're going to shout out a few of you quickly. We understand Carissa, Belfast and family. We have a lot of persons from Tobago tuning in.
Wow.
So we want to say good evening, Tobago.
Yeah.
Good evening, Tobago, and happy Sabbath. We want you to just continue sharing this link. Let's get the viewership up. Now, guys, before we get into the topic, we have something very serious to say. I've noticed, based upon the YouTube algorithms, that the majority of you all that are looking at these videos are not subscribed. So please, if we want this message to go far and wide, and we want this channel to grow, just do us a forward and just hit that subscribe button. Please and thanks. So we're going to get right into it. We're not going to keep you all waiting. And we're going to start off with the both panelists, our guest and our guru, Brian Jones. We've knighted Elder Brian Jones, our guru, tonight. Yes. I would have had the privilege to sit at his feet. Yes. And learn about finances.
correct.
Yes.
On many occasions.
Wow.
Yeah. So I know what he has to say. Some of you online, you not only want to look back at this video, you want to pull a pen and paper right now because the gurus are going to speak to us tonight. Yeah, man. So the first question coming out of the gate. Does money, and you're going to start with Renee, does money affect the power dynamics in relationships?
Well, definitely from straight off the bat, money does in fact affect the power dynamics, particularly in modern relationships. It's a very big factor. As a divorce attorney or an attorney who does divorces, I say there are 5 main causes of divorce, right? And for me, the 5 ones that you see recurring all the time: money, adultery, abuse, communication, and children.
Wow.
You never think children are right?
No.
Yeah, but what happens generally is that people invest their lives so much in the children that when the children go off and chart their own course, they recognize you've grown apart and they no longer have anything in common because the children would have been the buffer in the relationship. So they were invested in the children, and now the children have gone. You have to find your relationship again, and they recognize sometimes they've drifted too far apart, and they just call it quits, And some people just stay in the marriage for the children, but that's a whole other discussion. But money is one of the major causes of divorce. People having trust issues, I suppose, that devolve from how much you earn, how much you spend, etc. Persons who the higher income earner thinks that they have the controlling interest in the relationship, and so they think that they can dictate what happens in the relationship, and sometimes it transfers now into financial abuse. Right? Yeah, it does. So you have to come and you account for every cent to me because I am the higher income earner, or you may even have it in the case where somebody is the like Uncle Brian, they specialize in financial matters. And so, you know, they want to do the accounts and control the finances of the family, and the other party is saying, well, I equally contribute in this marriage. Both of us, we're almost on par with, as income earners. But because that person is the financial brain or the accounting brain in the marriage, they want to, you know, say, well, no, I will prescribe how we spend this money. And so definitely it leads to power struggles, it leads to contention in the marriage, and sadly sometimes it will end in divorce.
Beautifully said. There are a couple things, I mean, it's getting so excited already. I have so much questions to ask Renee on just on what she just said alone. But I want to go to Elder Brian Jones and ask an annex to that question, which is, should money affect the power dynamics in relationships?
Not at all, not at all. Now, I am from old school. Very old school.
Very cool.
And what strikes me is that when people are getting married, we say that they will be equal, but they're not, as far as money. You won't find in a marriage that each in the couple, each person is earning the same amount of money.
Right.
It just doesn't happen.
Right.
So what they should do, if there's love and there's Christianity and there's commitment to the relationship, how much each other earns should really not matter. If they are prepared to come together. So it shouldn't be that I am earning more, as Renee was just saying, and it could turn into financial abuse, you know, because I'm earning more. You do what I say because I control this. But if we really love each other and it's Christ-centered, we should be coming together, and because we are coming together, we really should be focusing on who is earning more. That theoretically is how it should work. Because love will transcend I earning more than you or you earning more than me. But practically that doesn't work, right? And so many people unfortunately end up by a Renee. So by a divorce lawyer and the divorce attorney. I am suggesting that when people are getting married now, they should recognize that we are coming together as one, praying and asking God to make that oneness work, in spite of the income quantities. You know, and that's what I want to recommend from the get-go, because if not, there will always be me against you, and once it gets to that,
it can't work. Yes, thanks so much for sharing. Guys, we're going to continue to encourage you to share your opinions in the chat. The questions are not only for those of us who are here in studio, it's for also you online. We want you to join the conversation, share your opinions.
I see already joining in the conversation with some nice quotes. It said, it's called match your money, not matrimony.
Oh boy. Let's see.
If you can't match money and problems, I'm going
So some persons have their different views and different things on it. And something that you all would have touched on, and the term financial abuse. Now, we always hear about domestic violence. So we understand that of emotional abuse, physical abuse, or financial abuse seems to be something. I won't say it's a new thing, because, I mean, it probably morphed into that terminology now. But can you all just share a little bit on what financial abuse is? So persons, if they are seeing those kinds of signs from early in their relationship before they get married, what are some things? I mean, this is a different spin-off, but
no, that's fine.
Money
So
and power,
there are two sides of the coin, right? With financial abuse, the first side is where you have one person who is controlling the purse strings to the extent that the other person does not necessarily have autonomy in how the money is spent in the relationship.
So no say.
No, yeah. So if the person wants to buy, I had a matter where the lady, when she needed to buy sanitary napkins, she had to go and ask for money to go to Prenuptial. It was that serious.
Mercy,
right?
Jesus.
And anytime she went to the bank to withdraw money from their joint account, she had to bring the receipts to show what you use the money for, right? So that's controlling the purse strings to the extent. Now the other side of your coin now is where the money is there and you have somebody who's spending the money excessively to the point where the needs of the home and the family cannot be met. So you have persons who the extreme, I suppose, is like a gambling addiction, let's say, right? So the money is draining out of the family, and so now the family now is left in need because the monies that are supposed to purchase what the family needs to survive is being squandered on some vice, let's say cigarettes or alcohol, as the case may be. So both sides of the coin essentially result in abuse because it causes lack in the household, right? And that really is not what's supposed to obtain in the family.
So I will allow Ella Brian to answer the question, but I want to add another layer for our guru as well.
Right.
Is there a way someone can spot this before getting married?
Well, that is the thing. We are advised when you're getting married, pray and fast. We are also told that who you get married to could determine your soul salvation. So marriage is a very serious thing. And sometimes people don't spend enough time getting to know each other. But see me and come live with me is absolutely different. Because you see all the time people saying, but he was not like that before and so on. Maybe you didn't spend enough time watching the signs, getting to know him better. You know? But really you don't get to know somebody until you live with them, fully. So it is advised that people really pray and agonize with God to know who to choose, right? Because nobody is perfect. But I want to take that question a little further. I have found that abuse in general will cause abuse in, could be unfortunately physical, mental, verbal, and invariably financial, to make you dependent and to make you reliant and to have you so disadvantaged that in the relationship that person becomes like a master and you like a slave. You know, so financial abuse could be real.
It's dependent.
And it creates, you want to cause that person to be completely dependent on you. And I know, I know someone that, in the old time days, the man will go with the wife to shop, and he have her checking up how much money she spent so far. Every time she put something in the cart, she added it up, and he watching, and she doesn't have the money to pay. When you get to the counter, the cash register, he's the one who, listen, those kinds of things are financial abuse in my opinion. Where the person
and that's quite from old school.
That's quite from old school. So when the person don't even trust you to go in the grocery with the money that you give them, they come with you, they oversee you, you have to come, oh boy.
Oh, when they go, if you don't get to know by yourself, you have to bring back the change.
You have to bring back the change, and you have to bring back the bill.
Bring back the wow.
And then,
it's still happening today on the brand.
And then, not only bring back the bill, but they're going through the stuff to see what you're buying. So
that is indeed abusive, boy.
It's
bless the Lord for small mercies.
Exactly.
It's about control.
It's about control. Abuse is about control.
Correct.
Before we go on, I must make mention tonight on the platform we should have had our dear friend and brother Durey Arthur. Unfortunately, he will not be with us here tonight. Important people sometimes have important emergencies. So we just leave it at that. But we'd have really liked to hear him chime in terms of his unique perspective as a businessman. Yes, it's possible that we can have a part 2 and have him on here to chime in this topic. But as we talking about the topic and about financial abuse and that type of thing, Renee, this question is primarily to you.
Right.
In your experience and in your opinion, is it easier for a woman who has more financial options to be quicker to divorce? Let's say in yesteryear, as Ella Jones, because we being real, right? We being real, the women, they would have taken abuse. The man, he come home and he's a big macho, he lie down on the bed, he do what he want. You understand? You now make up your bed, he walk in the house with the boots after you now clean it, and you take that for years. Is it the case, in your opinion, that a woman who has bag, she's making money now, and so she is not held ransom
She's not dependent
by
financially.
her dependency
Yeah.
on him financially, is such a woman quicker to go to the courts?
Yes. Yes, for sure. Because women now, we're not tolerating what our parents did.
Wow.
And that's the reality. So some of as I said, our parents would have stayed a lot of times with the children. There was a certain degree of financial dependence. There was the husband was still the primary breadwinner of the home and the wife was the homemaker, right? But now with the age of education where you have equal opportunity for all, women are going out, they are earning, first of all, they're studying, attaining their degrees, and so they can apply for the same jobs that men would have previously applied for. They have a seat in the boardroom now.
Nice.
And so they no longer have this subservient mentality where you call all the shots and I must just say yes, massa. It's no longer that dynamic in the relationship, and or you stay quiet and you bite your mouth because you have to keep the peace in the household because he's the head of the home, right? And so what you find happening now is that because first of all, let me highlight that we also have persons getting married at a later age.
Okay.
So they are already a lot of times established.
Right.
They have careers, very lucrative careers. They can purchase the vehicles, they could buy a car, etc. So you have now less sharing of assets.
Okay.
You have persons coming into the relationship already having accumulated assets. So it is, the relationship now is a choice and not a necessity.
Okay.
And let me say that's why a lot of persons stay in the abusive relationship as well, Kareina, because you have that they go into the relationship and they invested everything into this house, they invested everything into this car. So if the relationship goes sour, they have nowhere to go. It's like they could go back home with 4 children to mommy and daddy's house, you understand?
Okay, yeah.
And so they stay because, I don't have any other option. But for the female now, they're like, well, no, I could pay a rent, I could probably even pay a mortgage, some of them. I could buy my own car. So if you start to act up and behave in a manner that is unbecoming and that I did not foresee, or controlling and not allowing me to have equal say, because we know the female is supposed to be at the side of the man, right? Having a helpmate. Some people say she's the neck to turn the head and all that kind of, but you want partnership. Right? You don't want the master-servant dynamic. And so if that partnership is not what is being manifested in the relationship, they say, all right, I walk, hit the road, Jack.
So they're quicker to go to the divorce courts. And so I want to bull a fast one at the guru here, because sociologically, is that a good or bad thing? Because we're looking at from a religious perspective, we're also looking at from a legal perspective. And generally in Christendom, divorce is frowned upon, it's not a good thing. But we have society changing in that a woman is becoming financially empowered, is more likely to get divorced. Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Bad thing. And the reason why it's a bad thing is because rules. The rules going into marriage has not changed. The two shall become one, for better and for worse. It seems to me a lot of the young people want to rewrite the vows. For better, forget worse.
Yes.
Right? Once worse come, are gone.
Yep, correct.
You know? And I was making the point that it seems to me now that people are getting married. Christians are getting married and preparing for divorce.
Yes.
They're getting married and preparing for divorce. In other words, you're going to sleep, as I was saying earlier, you're going to sleep, and because you're not putting your lives in God's hand, because when you're sleeping, you're going to sleep, but one eye open. It can't work. So you're coming into the marriage, and you're saying, I have to make provision if we divorce. In case I divorce, I take care of my business.
Wow.
You're going into marriage till death do us part.
So stop.
And the psychic, we have to change our thinking, young people, of going into marriage, thinking about with one foot out and one foot in. I don't know which foot out and which foot in, but you ain't going with both feet in. Because at the first sign of trouble, you want to bail out. Christian young people are prepared to bail out quickly. And you hear it said all the time, I ain't tolerating it. Renee made the point. I ain't tolerating the nonsense my mother take now. I ain't tolerating the nonsense my father. You get trouble, hit the road, Jack. So we have to understand the biblical perspective. The biblical perspective is permanency. Permanency. And permanency means Now, Satan hates marriage.
Yes, sir.
Anything that God created,
He does.
Satan hates. Sabbath, state of the dead, and on and on and on. So since he hates marriage, he's going to be attacking every single Christian marriage
That's
flat
right.
out.
Yeah.
So what we have to do is to be constantly praying and be making allowances that you marry the right person.
Yes. Yes.
Right? So your people, when you get married, you're getting married for life.
Yeah,
Okay.
but I think, you asked a question earlier, Jayden. Is there a way to know before you get into
Yes,
the marriage?
some signs.
And I think there are some signs. There are some signs. If you look at the person's spending habits and you recognize, okay, you're a person who, all right, when you get paid, you like to go and treat yourself. But this
Right.
person wants to save every penny or hoard every penny. If every date is at less than $200 date, red flag. I'm just saying, so there would be signs. If you recognize the person, when they get their salary, before they could even start to pay their bills, they go out and they get nails done, hair done, weave done, new shoes, new outfit. Yeah, you recognize that they're spending on this. So those are signs that how people manage money in their single life,
Okay.
it will inform how they manage
That's a
money
very big
in their
point.
married life.
That's a
Definitely.
very big point.
Yeah, that's how it is.
I love
And you have to watch the signs.
Yeah.
And as financial analysts, we talk a very simple,
All right.
a very simple talk. You want to be married to someone who understands live below your means.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you're married to someone who, and we all out there don't be vexed with me.
Big talk.
they young people now want to have these lavish weddings and then go on rent.
Oh gosh, yes, sir.
When you could take the money from the lavish wedding, some of which you're borrowing,
Yeah.
you're borrowing from the bank and have to repay back for food that digests within hours, right? You have to see thriftiness, and you have to see a sense of this person will live below the means. But more importantly, you have to be able to agree on common financial goals
Correct.
even before you're married.
Yes.
Else, you know young people getting married now and they don't know each other's salary
Yeah.
or the income.
My
It's gone.
My watch now.
It's
It's
different
a
now.
secret.
the shots
The chat is lit.
Oh, really?
Different now.
Yeah.
It's different.
So Ayola was asking, and I think we probably answered that. She's talk about the wiggle room for not tolerating bad behavior.
Yeah.
And I just want to share with our online audience, it's not that we are encouraging persons to accept abuse and we say
Sure,
stay
sure.
in the abusive
Sure.
situation. The angle is that you have to have a little bit more you have to be more sober-minded when selecting a mate to begin with, understanding that you have to check this person out and understand.
Jayden, you could be unequally yoked financially, yeah?
All right.
Just highlight that
All
as well.
right.
Yeah.
Because if you're a person who as I said, you said you want to save. For example, if a person not paying tithe, we have a problem. Red flag.
Yeah.
Because
Start off.
God said return that. So if every time you have somebody comes with a need you always don't have.
Yeah.
No, give and it will come back to you. So there are certain biblical financial principles. If you recognize the person is not observing them, red flags, right? And so to me, when you come into the marriage now, you should already have understood and recognize your compatibility with that person's financial ideologies. Right? And you recognize now that, okay, we are on the same mindset where finances are concerned. And I'm not saying that it will be perfect. There may be a little give and take because I might want to buy Haagen-Dazs and you say, no, let us go and buy some salad. There might be a little give and take somewhere about the place. But you can recognize on an equally yoked relationship where one person is a spendthrift, one person is a miser and stuff, and if that is the case, you're setting yourself up for trouble.
So, Ella Jones, I see you want to comment. I want to just pitch a question to you in your experience as a financial advisor, etc. How detrimental it is, or how chaotic can it get if two persons are on different wavelengths in terms of their spending habits and that type of thing? We know sometimes it gets them to court, but sometimes we don't always see the internal aspects of how we trying to settle this from a financial advice perspective.
Yeah, well, the point is that even before marriage, we must have common goals.
Yeah.
We must talk about the goals, financial goals. We can't just get into marriage and then try to figure it out now that we are married. We have to find out. are we on the same page in general with our financial goals? Is it that it's important to me to have a home, and for you it's important to you to have a big shot car? You know, do I understand the principle that when I buy an expensive car, as I drive out, the value of the car starts to drop? And opposite, if I get a home, the value always increasing.
Right.
So what do I want?
Yeah.
Do we understand each other's financial goals? And we have to be talking about it. Because when you get married, you're now trying to figure out your financial goals, you could find out that you all are completely on the opposite page.
And I like that you said that. Go ahead.
So what I'm hearing coming out is the financial goals and making sure that you're on the same wavelength as it pertains to finances. And sometimes it's not always about how much you make, because I know you made the point earlier saying couples are getting into marriages without knowing how much the other party makes.
Right.
So if you know how much the other party makes going into the marriage relationship, the divorce may not come because of that, but it may come because of the different money styles and how you spend.
Exactly.
So, for instance, how can a woman rein in her husband's spending habits without coming across as trying to dominate, or vice versa? Because we have to balance in the chat too, because persons are calling us out saying they find the conversation targeting women and different things like that. But if perchance, whichever spouse it is, how can that person, they realize, hey, you know, your habits not really too healthy for the family, or for the dynamic, or ensuring that we meet the certain goals, or we meet the needs, so the family is not in lack. So how do you straddle that line with regards to kind of ensuring you're on the same page without dominating?
Before we go there, I want to put a question within that.
Okay.
See you on this within question.
Yeah, because we have situations and scenarios where, as we were speaking, our spouse may be making we incompatible, because when Elder Brian was speaking, we have to understand that we're living in a day and age now when not everybody believes that home ownership is beneficial from a financial perspective.
Right.
So there are schools of thought now. One says home ownership is advantageous, and I, bless the Lord, subscribe to that model. But I've heard in contemporary society where some say, no, renting is cheaper. You don't have house maintenance, you don't have this, and they argue back and forth for it. And some of them, they say that the monies that you would have put towards the purchase and upkeep of a home, you can be investing in different schemes that can grow.
Schemes, man.
Investing in different instruments that can give you great returns and have you ahead of the pack. And so let's say this is the within the caption. Let's say a husband is saying to his wife, we don't want to buy a house now because my business will make it big one day. We'll put it in there and we put any money into the business. And the wife is now in a position where she has a little bit more, I would say, a stable mindset. She said, no, let's save for Renee, let's put down for the house as what we're exposing. Now we go to Kareina's question. How can a woman, without seeming dominating to the head of her home, how can she rein in his spending?
Well, you see, anybody who feels they could not buy a house and invest the money and do better does not understand money.
Okay.
All right.
Straight
Yeah, man. I wish I had a song effect for that.
I am not apologizing for that. Because, first of all, women are nesting animals. A woman normally, worse yet when she has a child or children, she wants her own place. Because the insecurity of renting, the landlord raised the rent, he threatening to throw you out, you miss rent, and all those kinds of negative connotations does not sit well with the average woman.
Okay.
She wants her own place.
Yeah, stability and security.
Stability and security. Most married couples I know is the woman who pushed to get the house.
Correct.
Okay.
It's the woman who pushed to get the house.
Nice.
The man will sit down, he will live under a cardboard box. Some men, you know what I mean? Some men will live under a cardboard. But women know, they want their own place, they want security. So, saying that he will take your money and invest it and do better. Just the fact that you have your own home and there's a shortage of houses in Trinidad and Tobago, it means that there's greater demand than supply, so the value of properties will keep going up, right? Trinidad and Tobago doesn't have enough investment opportunities to give you the kind of returns those kinds of people might be thinking about. Unless you're going to very speculative investing, which is a different story altogether. So that getting your own home, my model is suggesting to people now, modern contemporary young people getting married, if you can't, unless your in-laws and your parents could, or you have enough money saved and you've been planning a while, keep the cost of your wedding down, right? Start off with keep the cost. Never borrow to get married.
Never borrow.
For the reception and thing, right? I imagine you're borrowing.
Auntie cook some rice, some
Yes, keep the cost.
Sometimes you even eat the food, eh?
You could still have it very classy, you know, but keep the cost down and put that money into down payment. Even if this is land you can't afford, because we know houses are very expensive. But home ownership gives you security, and it will be an asset that will provide increase of value. And even if you borrow, every time you pay your mortgage loan, the value of your equity will go up. The other thing is important. People get rich wealth is based on net worth. Assets minus liabilities, net worth. When you're renting, your net worth is moving because you have no ownership. But when you own a home, even if you're paying a mortgage, your net worth will keep increasing
every month.
Every time you make a payment. So that renting is making somebody else rich. Now to reading somebody is another story. I don't believe in reading it. I feel a lot of times when we go into marriage, we feel we're going to change him or her. He fat now, don't worry, I go get him on the treadmill to get him slim. She fat now, don't worry, I will get. I'm just using that as an example. Or anything else. People are who they are. So accept them there. So as Renee was saying earlier, if you're seeing signs that the man is a spendthrift, how you think you will be able to accept the Holy Spirit confront him and the change?
Alright.
And I think I don't like the phrase rein in, right? But there are subtle ways that a wife can assist the husband in managing the finances. You know, so and sometimes instead of coming across as domineering, you can suggest. So I know there are several traditional women, right? So they got married in yesteryear. And if they wanted, what Uncle Brian said about the wife being the agitator in getting the home is very true. And you'd find that when they come to me for divorces, she's so upset because she's like, why I must have to leave the home? Because a lot of the times, she was the one who saw the land, she was the one who pushed, she was the one who went and got quotations, etc. But he's the one who paid the mortgage. Right? So, but she, if it wasn't for her, it would not have happened. So it upsets her now that she has to be the one to leave the home because that is my effort there that materialized that.
Without me, he would have never have that.
That's correct, right? And so I'm thinking there's a way that you can subtly encourage. So, you know, honey, give me this amount this month because we need to do this, you know, and you probably might have to indirectly manage the finances and say, you know, give him his allowance or whatever for his spending. Right? It is reversed. Because what you have a lot of times is the man making the money and giving the wife the allowance. But if the man is irresponsible, and prayerfully approach it because you think, you're always spending the money, you're hungry yet, trying not food it. Now that is definitely going to breed conflict. So even how you approach it, it may have to be a conversation that says, you know, honey, I recognize sometimes we're not maximizing or capitalizing on our monies in the best way that we can. And how about we try it this way and, you know, we can see if we'll have a better outcome.
But there's a simple way, there's a simple way to correct all of that. If both parties have committed themselves before marriage to a word called budget.
Right.
Okay.
Sure.
Budget. Every month we must have a budget, we must agree. So marriage is not for the faint-hearted.
No, I understand what you're saying, but let me just put a spoke in the wheel figuratively. We may bounce up a scenario more often than not where one person is taking the lead in budgeting. And so this one person may be dictating the way the money is spent in terms of budgeting. So it's not that the couple may not be budgeting, but it may be the husband or the wife is the one who sits down and says, this is what we do, and we do this, we do that, and that's how we separate it. And oftentimes, I mean, because I've experienced it, and I'm sure you would have as well, is where couples just can't see eye to eye in terms of the way forward financially. Yeah. And he's spending on this, but I don't know, he went and buy that motorbike, or he went and buy that.
Always.
I think where that comes in as well, that is why there are persons like Brother Jones here. And Brother Jones, if you offer consultancy services for financial, advisory and those things for couples, y'all, don't worry, reach out. And that is important, because I think if money is the leading cause, well, I don't say the leading cause, one of the major causes of divorce, before you do that, even as a couple going into that, maybe you should seek financial, advice. You do psychological premarital counseling. Right. I think financial counseling should be a thing going into marriage before you set up that marital home and establish your own traditions and your own, and before you set in those ways, learn to budget as a couple first. And I think that's very important. Why I think financial counseling is very critical as well, and it should be a topic of focus in counseling, premarital counseling. A lot of the times, how you grow up as well informs what you think. So for example, I come from a home, right? I would be very, very hurt, I'm not even lying, I would be very hurt and very disappointed if money is an issue in my marriage. Why? Simply because my mother was a government worker and my father was a security officer for a significant percentage of the marriage. So she was the higher income earner. And I never saw that become a problem in our home.
Right. Praise God.
So it would be that when we have a project, when we want to do renovation, or when it was time to buy our books every July, August, you'd see them sitting around the table and say, okay, this is the expense, this is the amount we need to get, how much you could put. All right, so what will happen then? You taking the loan, or I will take the loan for the shortfall or the excess. Right? And they would work it out, and we would have our books, we would do the project, and it was whoever has to pay. So if sometimes mommy took the loan, but daddy said, okay, I will give you $500 every month towards the loan. So it was always a joint effort. So even though mommy was the higher income earner, right? It was only when mommy took VSEP that, well, daddy became the main breadwinner of the home, and he started to work, well, he got promoted and that kind of stuff throughout the years, and he ended up bringing in the most of the money. So, but still, even then, it was well, my mother, she wasn't one to, like, in her later years, to, like, have grocery lists and things. So when he said, okay, this is the money for the house, she go in and she make the groceries and whatever. Sometimes she buy anything that we already have in the cupboard. But all of this happened, right? But I
that was a part of the plan. That was a part of the plan.
And we knew that in spite of him doing that, daddy was always the person. The cars were always his expense. Okay. Even though they come with sharing, he had fixed expense. School books, his expense. Cars, his expense. You follow? And so I think when you have, as Uncle Brian said, the commitment and the partnership that, listen, we in this together, we ride, we die, we doing this together, we succeeding together, it changes how you approach the whole discussion about money. Bad boy.
I feel bad boy.
We have to understand as Christians, marriage is coming together. That's what God wanted and directed, of two individuals as one. Not giving up your own individuality and so on, but we're coming together as one. We cannot continue to have, we can't have successful marriages where we feel I is me against you. It's we. It's we. And we must marry with the intent of never ever separating unless it's death.
Correct.
So I want to ask you a question based upon what Renee just said, right? But before we go to that question, let me just take some comments. We have so much comments. We have one comment, use the house as an investment, that is living it upstairs and do your business downstairs as an example.
Right.
And Rosanna Forbes says we both pay in the mortgage, it's okay, and we're doing everything together.
That's my pastor's wife.
Oh, beautiful. Yes.
Good night, good night.
Ayola has a unique perspective. She says, let it all fall apart sometimes. Sometimes the only way
He might learn.
The only way he might learn
Yes.
is to let it fall apart.
But you're saying falling apart is the whole family sometimes falling apart.
Yeah.
So it's not just him.
Yeah.
You follow?
Sometimes they never come back together.
After they fall apart.
And Pastor Edwards is giving commendation. Said Brian and Renee, you're giving some good tips.
Okay.
Nice.
In our home, we sit together and do our budgets every month, and that's very
Moses
commendable.
Thomas, I believe that's from Tobago.
Right.
Yes.
Beautiful.
That's important.
He said Tobago men different to Trinidad men, eh?
I heard that.
With regards to house, and he said he ain't going through that cardboard box. He pushing for the house.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, but the Tobago's dynamic is different because remember, you have the generational land being
culture.
passed
Yes.
on. So
Exactly.
everybody have the little parcel that they know, okay, this is my parcel when I get married to build on. So they have a little head start maybe than what Trinidadians may have. So, but definitely I have seen where my counterparts from Tobago, they invest, they push from the onset, let's have our own.
I just want to say something quickly. If anybody out there wants to measure their financial success or lack of it, measure your net worth. Assets minus liabilities at the end of each year. Am I doing better or am I doing worse as a couple, right? And for another time, we could examine all the things that we need to do to come up with your net worth. But unless you're tracking your net worth, you can't measure how well you're doing with respect to financial.
Okay.
So the question I wanted to ask, Renee mentioned that her father would have her mother would have been the
higher income.
Right. That's the phrase. So the question I have as a man, now we being real with the guys on the podcast, as a man, should a man feel badly if he, looking at his situation with his spouse, realizes that he will never be able to out-earn his wife? Let's say she is probably in some entrepreneurship, the oil and gas sector, she's a medical doctor.
She's a lawyer. She's a attorney partner. She's an attorney. 20 years old.
And you know, you're paired with this person, and as a man, you realize, because men have egos.
Right.
Men have egos. What is your advice to a man who's found himself in such a position? He's working. He's ambitious, he's working. It's not like he's not doing, but he's realized that she will always be on top of him.
He should first thank the Lord, he strike gold. Strike gold. The way it becomes a problem is if the woman is treating him as a lesser.
Okay.
Right? If the woman is in love and they have a good thing going, and he feels less than, that's on him. That's him with his low self-image or inadequate self-image. That's on him. That's not on her. That's on him. She is successful. He may not reach where she reached. It is what it is. But you're having a good relationship.
What's the problem?
What's the problem? I would love to marry a woman who's making more than me. I would be telling everybody that proudly. I wash in a car and so
Right. No, I like that point. You're washing the car, you're holding down the things. She can shine in her element.
That's right.
Right.
Because the woman may have worked, the woman worked hard, accomplished, big up, but you must have the self-worth for that not to be a problem. The reason why it becomes a problem is because you please.
You're nurtured too. It has some of them. Okay, so I had a divorce once, right?
You?
No, not me. Right? But you find where the woman is the higher income earner.
Right.
And the guy just like, well, you make any money so I can sit down and play PS5 all day. No, that will result in conflict. And that is in fact financial abuse. Right? Because it means now that you have to go out and be the primary breadwinner and still come home and be the homemaker. So you pull in both rules.
Yes.
And that is definitely going to result in conflicts that would lead to you having to go by a Renee.
So you know, guy, you
Yes.
know that the woman, she working hard, she's slaving and thing. And when you go in the grocery, how you dealing with this one, Elder Brian? You go in the grocery.
And she's the higher income earner.
Not only the higher income earner, you know, you're earning low. You're not really, you know. But you're going in the grocery
Right.
and you're picking up the smokers and you're dropping it in the basket with pride.
refurbishing.
And you want, because
Häagen-Dazs.
With my wife?
you know,
Oh,
no, because
2 is 1. 2
Baba.
is 1 and we budgeting.
So we
2
budgeting.
is 1 and we budgeting.
Okay.
So, no, Bobby and real, right? Because we talking to an audience here who person's not just looking at this, they're in some of them in
Right,
it.
right.
And you may have a guy who's walking and he's just taking advantage of the
Yeah.
situation.
Right.
Yes, both of us working, yes, both of us contributing, but when we go into the grocery, you're picking up all kind of pricing, you're dropping it in the card like it's first time, you know. And if, pray tell, the woman just watch and tell you, no, but there's problems in her.
Yeah.
But
Your
it's
ego bruised in her.
according to how you see yourself. You know what I mean? How you see yourself.
Right.
Are you prepared to stick to the plan? Call the budget.
That's it. But
Are
it's
you-
irresponsible.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking.
You
actually.
have to stick with the fundamental.
Correct.
Yep, yep.
You know?
You go and you pick up your flour, your rice, your milk,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
understand?
yeah,
And then when we, okay, good, so we have the
everything,
needs, then we go to the, isn't that what they teach
Yeah,
you? Needs
yeah,
before
yeah.
luxuries. At least that's what we learn in POB, you know, in home economics. You cater to your needs first, and then if there's extra, you cater to your wants.
So the question I'm asking really essentially is, does the woman or the higher income earner, because we're still talking to the topic money and power in relationship,
yeah.
does the higher income earner have more of a say in the grocery as it pertains to what items we buy? So should the man, or the woman, if they're earning less, should they have less input in the budget? And should they have less input when they go to the grocery?
No, we have a grocery list.
Yes,
I'm
the
not actually
budget
example,
plan.
but-
But not only that, remember I made the point earlier that the more earning or the less earning is marriage.
So it's
We coming together.
Right, right.
So that shouldn't come up.
So that
Renee's
trumps everything.
parents are a good example. Renee said she never heard her mother was the higher earner. It never was an issue. And that's how it should be. But when you want to come, and we have touched on this, to the marriage, are earning more, and you want to dominate, that's a problem.
Beautiful, beautiful.
That
Well
means
said.
love and God's Christ-likeness is not dominant in your life.
Beautiful,
Yeah, and it's
beautifully
disrespectful
said.
as well, Uncle Brian, because
Yes.
I am ultimately, none of us could ever give what Christ gave us.
Yeah.
So when we weigh what we spend and what we give compared to what Christ had to give up for us, I think we just need to have several pieces of humble pie.
I want to suggest to people who are getting married, who are Christians, marriage is all in all. Don't come in marriage with one foot in the door and one foot out. Give it all and do not study. I'm getting married, but I have to make provision to if I get divorced.
So let me ask you this question. One time we jump in on it. We're not going to go down this road, but somebody asking the question in the chat here. Marriage is all in all. What is our take on prenuptial agreements?
Well, that's illegal in Trinidad, so don't even say
So let me make it simple. The attorney says
it's not
it's illegal.
recognized in Trinidad. Because yes, our laws
And you heard it right here.
our laws still try to preserve the institution of marriage and
Right.
the oneness that marriage was meant to be. So prenuptial agreements, no, we don't recognize those in Trinidad because a prenuptial agreement is preparation for divorce. You don't go into marriage preparing for
Exactly.
divorce.
Oh, I like that.
That's what it is.
I like that. I like that.
And so
Yeah,
it's not recognized here. Some persons
It's a
when they
contingency
recognize,
plan.
yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
Some persons
It's a
when they
parachute.
recognize that the
Parachute.
marriage is already failing, they might do a separation agreement, saying, okay, well, we'll divide the assets this way and we'll go our separate ways.
Yeah.
But to say you do it before the marriage and come and say, no, not
Well, I'm glad that came up because I never knew prenuptial
I'm a son.
didn't obtain in Trinidad.
So
So for those of you who were thinking about it,
Forget it.
forget it. You've heard it here.
Yeah, but I don't even understand why money has to be such like this whole big secret service in marriage. So you have sometimes people having joint separate accounts, etc., and they sending the money to pay the bills, and well, the rest is mine, and we don't know how much the rest is.
Yeah.
As Uncle Brian says, it really is supposed to be openness and oneness, you know. So if you're going into the marriage already having secrets, then you're setting yourself up, I think.
Yeah.
I'm not married, but I would think.
Yeah, no, you speak with great wisdom.
I just want to say one important thing. She said something, and I need to put in a word. She said she's not married. I just want to add yes. Yes.
Cool. So we will be going to put a wrap on this evening's program. We have so much more we can discuss. I have so much questions still. We definitely have to do a part 2. If you all want a part 2 to this topic, just put part 2 down in the chat for us, so we can know if we're striking a chord here, and if you all want to hear more, we would have them come back. But we had some pre-conversations before this podcast, and unfortunately, Brother Durey, he isn't here, but he mentioned something that struck a chord in me. And he was challenging really the topic, money and power in relationships.
Yes, I remember that.
And he posited or suggested what money has to do with power and stuff in relationships. He seemed to dissect the two, put them in separate categories. What is our take on this? Does money have to equate power? Does power equate money in relationships especially?
Durey was making the point. I really admire him because he's very, very successful. And he was
very.
No, he is. And he works very hard.
Yeah.
He was making the point, and he was talking about his own situation where who makes what doesn't matter. Which is Renee's point with her parents.
Yeah.
Why who makes what matters that much? If we are coming together as one. No, we are discounting abuse, dominance, and all those kind of things. But as Christians, as we come together, who makes what should matter? We working on a plan and so on, you know? But what will be instructive, I feel, is if we're able to do a program for those who want on Zoom, where we could really go into details of financial management.
I want to say that the Word of God says that the love of money is the root of all evil.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you love money more than you love your spouse, you're already inviting evil.
We have a problem.
Then we have a phrase in law that we say, power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And so therefore, if you have power, then if the relationship is about a power dynamic, then you're inviting corruption to take root in your marriage, which ultimately leads to breakdown.
You know, I'll share a moment of vulnerability here. When I was looking for a spouse, you know, I had a couple friends prior to my wife here.
All right.
And you know, one thing, before I met her, I made a very clear resolution. I said, no relationship that I enter in will have a power struggle. Anytime from the boyfriend girlfriend stage, we want to play games in terms of who calling who first and who wouldn't call, and you hold out to play this power struggle kind of thing. I said I am not participating in that. I'm not participating in a power struggle in a relationship of any kind, even when it comes to financial matters. And so as we bring a wrap on this part of the program, persons are saying definitely part 2. A lot of part 2s coming up there in the chat. We want to find out, we're speaking about joining finances to becoming one, power and money not necessarily working as a thing. And before I go there, I remember I was in St. Lucia in Grosile, and I was speaking to a lady from India. She had a very high portfolio. I think she was some type of commissioner or some type of something. And she was sharing with us very heartfelt. She said, I am way higher than my husband in rank in the work. She says, but let me tell you something. She said, when I come home, I am his wife. He's the man of the house. She said, I give him that respect. She said, I don't understand in our Western minds how we equate you being employed more gainfully than him, or you having a higher position in the corporate world. How do we bring that into the marital equation and somehow feel that because she said, I could be the prime minister or the president of a country. She says, when I come home, he is the man of the house, I am his wife, we work together. And so she essentially there showed us as young people to detach this whole idea of success and power from a marriage and a
We
relationship.
allow what happens out there to come into the home environment.
We put too much significance on money,
Yeah.
on filthy lucre, as the Bible says. We put too much significance. It's not that serious, guys.
Yeah.
And so, is there a financial model that is recommended that can sort of take away the possible strife financially in a marriage?
Okay.
As Christ, if we are Christians, we do what Renee is saying. We return to the Lord, we give in our offering, but we recognize we are ministers for God. And that here is not our final resting place. So that even though we want to acquire stuff here, we want to acquire property, we're not doing that as though they are our gods. We are doing that as a means to an end. But focusing on we are going to heaven. And we want to see people go there too. You know? So the financial model is, as you say, don't take yourself seriously, don't overdo it. You know, ask God to give you the balance because you want to be given back and ministering and returning. Because this world is not my home.
Beautiful,
You know?
And, that is spoken rightfully so by Brother Jones and Renee because their life is dedicated to that of ministry.
Yes. And before we begin, we put a wrap on this evening's program.
We're wrapping up.
We're wrapping it really tight. And we have a promotion. We want to just take that promotion that Kareina will share with us before we take our final question and closing remarks.
It's a premier couples seminar and retreat. All meals and accommodation are included in the cost. And for more information, you can visit www.mergefamily.org. It's a celebration of marriages, exquisitely done, and we are asking that you register. Remember, the marriage, 13th to the 15th of December 2024, the Plantations Tobago, a celebration of marriage. You cannot afford to miss it.
Excellent.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well said. Thank you, Kareina, for sharing that important piece of information. Remember, this is the Merge podcast. We are part of a group called Merge, the Marriage Enrichment and Recommitment to God and each other. That's the name of the group, the Merge group. Ella Brian Jones is one of our avid members.
And I will recommend it. I was there this year at Hilton last year at the Hilton Hotel. It was fantastic. We started off with Dr. Tobias giving a speech. I don't know if you all remember. It was memorable. We had a phenomenal banquet, and so I recommend it highly.
I'll join you all one day.
Praise the Lord. Well, I was going to put it in there.
I know, I said
But you take front.
That is music to my ears.
Yes. So beautiful.
Gonna put a wrap?
Yeah, we're gonna put a wrap on tonight's program. Again, we thank you all for joining us online, and we're gonna ask. This is a really ticklish question. A ticklish question because anyway, let me just get to it. From a male's perspective, because the Bible tells us that a man's supposed to provide for his family. And if he doesn't, he has denied the faith. He's worse than an infidel. He denied the faith. We can get into all what that means, provide and all these things, but what we want to get into, is there a minimum amount in Trinidad and Tobago 2024 that a man must provide in terms of bringing as an income for him to be sheltered from being an infidel or worse than infidel or denying the faith, in terms of his providing for his family? What do we consider provision? You know, because we talk about we have a lot of modern concepts taking place in terms of there are some men now I hear want to be house husband, you know, stay at home dads and that type of thing, right? Yeah. So we have a lot of new ideologies and concepts. In terms of from a biblical perspective, a man must provide for his family. Is there a minimum? What does that look like in your opinion?
If the man is doing the best that he can do financially, and his family is his priority, and he is giving all that he can give, whatever his occupation, vocation, then that's the minimum that he is expected of him. Because he can't bring in that which he ain't get it, you know?
Okay.
So the question therefore is, what's the man's priority? Is it his family or is it he's all over? Once he is doing the best that he can based on what he is earning, whether it is from a business, whether it's from a job, because remember, people just think job. You can have your own business as well.
True.
Once he's doing his best and his family is priority, that's what I will call the minimum. It's difficult to decide a minimum, a figure, when you don't, each circumstance will vary.
Okay.
And that's exactly what I was thinking, Uncle Brian, because let me tell you one thing that changed my outlook on money. When I did the mission trip to Kenya in 2011, and I looked at the fact that, okay, we pitched big tents here to do crusades. My tent was a holy tarpaulin with a tree branch and a piece of ply on top a stage made out of ply, and the people sat on the ground.
Oh.
They came every single night and sat on the ground. And they would sing so melodiously. I looked at the fact that when we went out into the rural communities, etc., to do ministry and the health, to give health care and that kind of thing, I watched a child running around with a piece of stick and a rim, and she had the most jubilant smile, and she was happy. And so we can't, comparison is the thief of joy.
Yes.
And so if we compare ourselves to others and what they're earning, then we'll always see ourselves as lacking. But if we look at, okay, I can't provide any millions of dollars, but I am meeting my family's needs. My family is safe and my family is happy and we are together, then that is really what matters.
That's right.
And on that point, sometimes the need of the family, when you look at, the need to be secure, the need to, all these things to be met in order to self-actualize and get to your full potential. So I think what you're saying, if I'm hearing you correctly, is that sometimes it's not only about finances, but needs of security, needs of spirituality, protection, not provision, but otherwise that psychological safe space as well that you provide of yourself, of you give of yourself. So I think that's an important dynamic or facet that we could look at.
And don't get us wrong, it's not that money doesn't matter, but I think we do not focus so much on the money that we lose sight of the other blessings that we have. And as we are able to accumulate and earn the money, we now can utilize it to improve the circumstances around us. But let's consider the intangibles as well.
Beautiful. So you heard it right here at the Merge Podcast, our wonderful guest and guru, attorney at law Renee Joseph, and the financial guru himself, Elder Brian Jones. We're going to ask them to give their closing remarks. We appreciate all that you would have said in the chat. You would have seen me right here with my head down, just reading away, and sometimes like a madman laughing to myself based upon what you all are saying. We appreciate you being here. Closing remarks, I'll have ladies go first.
I just want to say that money does not equate to power, right? That I am of the view that is a diabolical mindset, and that is of the world. But for the Christian framework, you want ultimately, as we say all the time, Jesus be the center of it all. So you're coming together with oneness, you're coming together in a way that honors God. And if that is your focus, to keep Jesus at the center of it all, then your financial management as well will seek to honor God. And therefore the issues of abuse, the issues of power struggle, the issue of you squandering and spending money, etc., will not arise, because those are things that do not reflect the presence of God within your relationship.
Excellent. I want to agree with that. We are supposed to be Christians, and so we are followers of Christ. What will Christ want us to do in our marriages? First of all, there are much more important things, whilst we understand the value and importance of money, but as Christians, we should be looking at the value of being Christ-like, and not studying the other person being Christ-like and put them under scrutiny. I must first be Christ-like.
Correct.
I must represent and reflect Christ, as an example to my spouse, and vice versa. And once that is in place, as Renee was saying, then all other things will be added unto us, right? And so, whilst we emphasize money and so on tonight, we really want to emphasize, are we having prayer altars in our home? Are we praying? Are we calling the family to worship, etc., etc.? Because at the end of the day, we are aiming to be in heaven, all of us. And so, if all that we do does not point us back to heaven at last, then it is not worth it.
Correct. Seek first the
kingdom of God, and all its righteousness
shall be added.
That's
right. Well, thank you, Renee. Thank you, Elder Jones. It was a pleasure. Thank you to all our friends who are online. We want to encourage you to share this link, and you can go rewatch it. Take excerpts, share it with your friends, your family who you think may need to know about these financial management tips. Of course, we come in with part 2. Until next time, we want to thank you again for being here. Remember, we are always better together.
Better with you. Good night.
Night.